and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about guitar cables. So that might not seem like the most exciting thing in the world, but as a motorcyclist will tell you, the tyres are the one key thing between the machine and the road, and to a large extent for guitarists it's exactly the same. We put a lot of sort of faith in our kit, in our guitars. We talk about pickups and tone woods and all that, and then a lot of people are sort of fairly particular about their amplifiers. But ultimately, the cable is the go-between that links everything together and is just as critical in the signal chain as anything else. So I've had my cables now for many years. I look after them as best I can. I clean them down, I coil them up after each gig relatively carefully. But obviously over time they get dusty, dirty, covered in beer. Not my beer, I hasten to add, but you know what the punters are like at gigs. And they get covered in dust and grime if they're in outdoor gigs. And just general wear and tear really. So I thought what I'd do is do a bit of fun really, just a comparison of the old cables and the new ones. So I've got some brand new Mogami cables, which are rather posh I have to say, but I thought it'd be quite interesting to see whether or not they make a difference. So what I'm going to do is a video just to show one cable as a reference signal, and then I'm going to run two cables, so it's going to go through a very tiny little pedal board just to show how two lengths of cable would work, and I'm going to compare that signal with two old cables just to see if we can actually tell any difference, either just by ear, and then perhaps what we'll do is have a look on the signal path and see if we can notice any sort of visual degradation as well. So the cable lengths are about 6 meters each, which is about 20 feet. And I tend to work on that length because by the time you've had the cable from the guitar down to the floor, across the floor a bit, and maybe into a pedal board or up into an amp, you need a bit of room to move, and I find 20 feet is about right for me. So what I'm running today is two 20-foot cables, so it's going to go through a very tiny pedal board and you'll be able to hear the difference, hopefully. I'm also going to plug the one cable through an acoustic guitar into an acoustic amp, because I also play an acoustic amp as well, quite often with one of the duos that I play with. So that'd be quite interesting to see if we can tell a tangible difference with one cable just between the guitar and an acoustic amp. So without further ado, let's go and have a listen and see if we can tell the difference. Okay guys, the results are in and I wanted to share them with you straight away. I haven't had a chance to put the video together at this stage, so the microphone is just the one on the phone itself, so pardon the audio quality, but the results really are quite amazing, to be honest. If we look at the red traces, and these three tracks here are the electric guitar recordings. And well, let me just start with the DI for the electric guitar. So this one was one Mogami cable straight into the amplifier, and you can see how thick the trace is and how white it all is compared to the two below. Now this one below here is two Mogami cables, so that's about 40 feet of wire and a small pedal board before you get to the amp. And then the bottom one here is the two old cables, my actual normal cables that I'd been using. So you can kind of see the signal quality loss as you go from one cable, pardon the siren going past. So as we go from one cable to two cables, we can see signal loss now. And you can kind of see it's more to do with the residual sustain, if you like. So you can see that with one cable there's still a lot of signal passing through. It's quite thick, it's quite a rich line, whereas a lot of those have disappeared by the time you go to two long cables. So it's almost like it's picking up the transients, and there's some residual signal there, but a lot of the underlying signal and warmth and richness has gone, and that's from going from 20 feet to 40 feet plus a small pedal board. Now, if you compare the two cables here to the two old cables, you can see that that's further pronounced again. So the signal's even thinner, the amplitudes are slightly lower, and also again you're starting to just come to transients rather than actual signal. So it's quite interesting that we'll have a listen in a bit as to what the actual sound of that might be, but just by looking at the signal here, you can definitely see a loss. And another way of looking at it is to start here with my existing cables, my two old cables, then go to the two newer cables, and you can see that that's thicker, richer, warmer. There's a lot more information in that signal path. And then by going from two cables to just one, which is this line here, you can see just how much more information there is and how much of a louder, richer, warmer signal you will get. Okay, now on from that then, if we look at the acoustic guitar, which is the purple traces here, you may see the same sort of thing. All I've gone is from one cable to one old cable, I should say, to one new cable. So the old one appears to be pretty good compared to the Mogami cable, but you can see there's definitely a larger output on the Mogami, or another way of looking at it is there's a higher signal loss on my existing old cable, so there's definitely an improvement there. But the main thing that I really noticed, to be honest, with the acoustic guitar is the warmth, the separation, the definition of the strings. With the old cable, the bass notes and the lower sort of the D, A and E strings are really flat. They sound really dull. The strings aren't the newest, admittedly. I did actually play a gig with them last night, so they're not brand new strings, but nonetheless they should still be brighter than that. And I did notice that the old cable really did sound really dull and flat and uninspiring. And then when we put the Mogami cable in, I have to say, it's not just about volume there. That is so much more warmth, richness, definition between the notes, clarity on the bass strings, just so much better. So I have to say, I'm really glad that I've got those new cables, and they really do make a difference. Well, I hope you found that interesting. I certainly did, and I think I'll be throwing those old cables away now. Incidentally, I'm not sponsored by Mogami. Those are just the cables I happen to have. There may be better ones or some that aren't as good out there. If you've got personal favourites, then do please let me know in the comments section, and maybe we can do a comparison of those too. In the meantime, go ahead and check your own cables, because if you're anything like me and just do the same thing week in, week out, these things can get overlooked. So it's definitely worth having a look to see just how well yours are performing. Also, check out some of my other videos. I've got around 200 now on the channel. Vintage and rare guitars, amplifiers, effects, and general insights into band life and that sort of stuff. Also check out my new album, Crawl to Be Kind, all original material, recorded here at the studio and featuring a lot of the guitars on the channel. So please also consider sharing and liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already. I think about 95% of my viewers aren't actually subscribers, so if you would hit the button, it'd be massively appreciated. We can help the channel grow together. In the meantime, take care and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.